What's up, guys? Didn't go fishing today. Weather was a little on the bad side, thunderstorms everywhere, so I stayed around the house, did a few things inside, and hopefully tomorrow I'll get out on the water and put a few fish in the boat. But noticing in my videos, I don't talk about what I'm doing or gear I'm using, and I know it could be kind of aggravating sometimes. So, fishing down here in South Louisiana, I'm fishing about 8 to 10 foot of water. Here it's midsummer, and I'm fishing at average depth probably about 6 to 7 foot in that 8 to 10 foot range. Fishing submerged structure, points, drop-offs, getting out in that deep water where it's a little bit cooler, where they're coming out and going out in that cooler water to feed, and they're just concentrated in those areas right now. And one of my go-to rod and reels is I have a couple of these. Is this Mitchell? It's kind of like a little micro, and I got it paired up with 6-pound Berkeley, and it works extremely well for crappie fishing. And that's on a 6'6" medium spinning rod. It's got a fast action tip on it. It's made by Albert Garcia Cardinal, tournament grade, and I've been having this one for a couple years now, and it works flawless. It does great for crappie. I mean, I really like it because I like to cast to my fish. I don't like to sit on top of them, so I'll back off about maybe 15 yards and get to them. And with this setup with that fast action tip, I can cast this light tackle pretty far. I can get it out there. And basically what I'm doing is I'm pairing up. I'm using a 1.5" cork, 1.5", and this is also 1.5", but I'll explain the difference in these two here in a second. So what I'm looking for, and this has been over the years of trial and error, when that crappie bites this bait with this and this cork up above, it's not just going to slam it under the water. It's going to pretty much float that guy neutral in the water. It's just going to raise it up, sit it flat, and you got a fish. So slim corks, what I'm looking for on this size here is a 1/32. A 1/32 will float that about halfway in the water, and then when that crappie bites that bait, it's just going to stand it up like that. Very rarely do I see him just take it all the way under the water. If you see it going under or kind of moving around a good bit, it's normally either going to be a brim, perch or red ear, chinkapin. They're gonna dunk it under, but your crappie are just gonna get that bait, hold it there, and kind of get that cork neutral. As this one right here, this one's a little battle worn. You see, the cork's a little tore up, but that's gonna float that guy about halfway, and that's a 1/32 jig head right there. Perfect setup. So if I need to cast a little bit further, or because these solid colored corks are kind of hard to see depending on the angle of the light, how it's hitting the water. So if I'm having a hard time seeing that cork out in front of me, I'll switch over to the red and fluorescent orange, and that way I can kind of see it a little bit better in the water and distinguish how it's sitting. So this is a little bit fatter cork, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to a 1/16 jig head, and the 1/16 paired up with this 1.5" cork, which is a little bit fatter, will float it halfway in the water. It'll float it just like this. And when that crappie grabs it, it'll do just like the small one. It'll stand up on itself. And I'll tell you, I see people all the time, they're fishing with 2.5, 3-inch corks, like they're out there fishing for redfish and speckled trout, and it's gonna be real hard to detect that bite, because a 5-inch crappie versus a 15-inch crappie, they're pretty much going to bite the same. They're just going to barely nibble on that guy. I mean, you're going to have some, don't get me wrong, that's going to take it under, but most of the time they're just going to float it. So, this is my technique. This is what I use down here. It doesn't work everywhere. It's 4 hours north where my buddy lives, up on the Red River and some of the inland lakes. This doesn't work. It's deeper water. Do some vertical jigging with some long poles, long rods with very, very light action tips. It's totally different fishing. But down here, this is what works best for me. And I put some fish in the boat using this method. I'll change it up throughout the year. I might, you know, fish with a different jig head, or just might even do some vertical jigging whenever the water gets cold. But summertime, spring, and early fall, this is my go-to rig right here. And you know, growing up, I always fished with tube jigs with skirts on them, and I kind of got away from that over the years. Just getting more experience at crappie fishing, I like to go to a straight tail jig. Kind of looks more like what they're eating. It looks more like a shad or a minnow. And I change the colors up throughout the day and throughout different times of the year. But I really enjoy these straight tail jigs. That's one of my go-to style baits. And I still use the tube jigs. It just all depends, watercolor and time of year. But about 90% of the time, this is what I go to. This style jig right here. So give it a shot. See if it works. Might not. But thanks for watching, and hopefully maybe I help somebody out.